a bit of a plot twist. I woke up today from a crazy number of text messages. A crazy number of text messages from friends in the basketball industry. Crazy number. And they're all like, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I turned on the Twitter machine. It was very early. And I saw Woj's tweet, and I'm like, wait a second. Didn't Shams just say J.J. Redick? And I had heard that J.J. Redick was, or the Lakers were trying to reach out to find staffing. So, for J.J. So what possibly could happen? Well, I can tell you what I have a, this is just guesses, maybe educated guesses. So the thing about trying to get a head coaching job, and it took me a long time. The first time I interviewed for a head coaching job was 2008. It was 2024 I got a head coaching job. So I can tell you unequivocally that if you join a discussion about becoming a head coach, do you know what else you need? You need a plan of execution. Right? First 30 days, first 60 days, first 90 days. Who are you going to hire? And what I had heard in regards to J.J. Redick was people around the Lakers were reaching out to see who was interested in being on his staff. And you had heard about the makeup potentially of the staff. So here's my guess. Is that there was a good number of people that were like, you know what, this might work. What's the plan? And JJ's plan was like, we'll hire guys, we'll hire a staff, we'll put it together. And I'm sure you reach out to a couple of coaches, James Borrego, who's up to potentially being a head coach, maybe in Cleveland. Doesn't want to be the assistant at a place that he wanted to be the head coach, and maybe he said no thanks. And at some point they said, wait, this is not really a plan. This is an idea. The idea is great. You got to have the plan. You have to give people the view of what it's going to look like. You do it in recruiting. Okay? I have to do it in recruiting, and last night I was at this amazing dinner, and I'm constantly stepping out to make recruiting calls. And in recruiting, I can show people film of my AAU teams playing or my teams in Israel playing, but I don't have this long resume. So what I have to do is let me paint the picture of what it's going to look like for you. Here's the guys on my staff. Here's the guys on my team. Here's how we're going to play. You have to project this imaginary visual image of what it's going to be like. And for JJ, he had an idea. Of course I can coach. And the truth is that in coaching, I have no doubt that JJ Redick could coach tomorrow in the NBA. And he'd be fine. He'd probably be really good. But it's all of the other parts of coaching that is missing, because you have to take people from the place of, hey, that's an interesting idea, to what it actually looks like and feels like, and how it's going to all work together. So while that's taking place, I'm sure there's the guys, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And hey, did you know Danny Hurley's new contract hasn't yet made? Did you know that LeBron James, supposedly, and this is from Brian Windhorst earlier today, told the Lakers, don't pick a coach because of me, pick a coach for Anthony Davis and for beyond. But LeBron wants to be coached. Anthony Davis wants to be coached. And while you don't have an NBA championship in your resume, the fact is that in order to win in the NBA, you have to have the respect of the locker room. To have the respect of the locker room, you have to have one. And while most college coaches haven't done well stepping up to the NBA, Larry Brown has. There have been others. But Danny has only been truly successful the last 2 or 3 years. Danny is he's over himself. He's never been about him or about acting like his pen is some magic pen. He knows how to give credit to the players and to the other coaches and to just be a facilitator for this great program and kind of be the entertainer on the sidelines. Danny you can sit with and say, what would it look like for you to be the head coach? And he, because he's recruited, because he's done it, because he's sold the vision before, that's an easy vision to sell in the future. My guess, and again, just a guess, is that hiring JJ was an idea, but there wasn't a vision for what it would look like provided with that idea. He didn't have the plan in place. I'm going to hire this coach and that coach and this coach, and here's what we're going to bring in personnel-wise, and here's what we're going to do for that other guy. JJ was like, I want a coach. LeBron likes me. He's got my respect. You guys fill out the coaching staff. We'll make it work. Yeah. What's it going to look like? Yeah. Just a guess, but my guess is that it feels like there's something to it. And oh yeah, by the way, that doesn't mean this is a done deal. You know, coaches have gone all the way to the finish line. Coaches have taken jobs before. The one difference is for Danny is he did tell his UConn team today that he was talking with the Lakers. And when you do that, you're opening up the potential for Pandora's box because they got done with their workouts today, and I'm sure their phones are blowing up because you have 30 days if your coach leaves to be in the portal. And then they got to figure out who gets the job, probably somebody who's on staff, either Kamani Young or Luke Murray. Who gets to come with him? Who stays? Because those are, outside of those two, those are hardcore UConn guys that probably stay. And then what's Danny's vision for his own staff? What does that look like? But we have said that college basketball is more reflective of the NBA now than it ever has been. And you have a former player who does, I understand when you look him on the sideline, you think he's a crazy person. He's not that way towards his players. His players, he's very different. Demanding, but very different. And I'm guessing that the vision is far easier to sell than the idea was for J.J. Redick. They had a preliminary contact with Hurley, and both sides are planning to escalate discussions in the coming days. This is from Agent Wojnarowski. Hurley has been the forefront of the Lakers' search for the beginning of the process, even when the organization has done their due diligence interviewing several other candidates. Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss are eager to formally discuss with Hurley their vision for marrying his dominant program built upon tactic acumen and elite player development with the Lakers brand. You know, they want a legit coach and somebody to develop people. I don't think it's a crazy idea. I just don't. Monty, what do you think of the heel turn or the pivot from what felt like it was going to be JJ's job to now maybe it's Danny Hurley's job?
A little bit surprised. Surprised in the sense because it seemed like it was a shoo-in, right? Like it was for sure going to be JJ. I think we all thought that. So I think I'm surprised because I really thought it was going to be JJ. But I'm not surprised that they did look beyond JJ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because JJ, he has no coaching experience, and not that he's not going to be a good coach or anything, and obviously he has a relationship with LeBron, that's what the Lakers want, or anybody who coaches LeBron. You want the coach to have a relationship with LeBron that he likes and he approves. So I think we all just thought it was a shoo-in, and so I'm surprised about it. And, Dan Hurley, that's a big ask that you're trying to take away from UConn.
Yeah, I mean, if the Lakers want to, you can. There's no salary cap. You can pay him whatever he wants. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Is that Ryan?
It's Chris. Yeah. Hi. I'm just trying to make sense of this, and maybe you can help me, Doug or Monty, or whichever. But I'm not sure how this makes sense for either side, other than it seems to be a name attracted to another name. For Dan Hurley, you've got a very good thing going at UConn. And I know there's been people like Brad Stevens, but usually for a college coach going to the NBA, you've already got a deck stacked against you. And now you're going to the Lakers, where any relationship you would have with LeBron James is understood that it's going to be in the short term, and it's usually very volatile. And a lot of other coaches have kind of come through there. If you're successful, then yeah, maybe you're set up to be the Lakers coach for whatever the post-LeBron future looks like. But you're giving up a lot from UConn to go to, and you've got a great thing going at UConn, to go to the Lakers, a big thing, but it's such a volatile situation. And on the other side of it, for the Lakers, is this really someone who's going to mesh with LeBron James? Is this really going to be an arrangement that LeBron James is going to really enjoy? I've got so many more questions about this that I probably shouldn't. It should seem like a really good arrangement, but it just brings up too many questions.
Okay, help me out. What are the go through the questions in sequential order?
So,
like you have a bunch.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of questions. I'll answer them. For what I think. Go ahead.
So I guess, why would Dan Hurley go into this kind of a volatile situation right now?
Why is it volatile?
Because of LeBron's history, I think.
It's not
coaches.
even that. LeBron is short term for this job.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Again, if you get a 5-year deal, in the $50-60 million range, whatever. How many chances did you get to coach the Lakers?
Right.
And you have Anthony Davis, and you have Austin Reeves. Why would he? It's because it's the NBA and it's because of the Lakers. And I'll tell you, what do you not have to worry about when you're an NBA coach? You do. Obviously, there's the academic piece, which everybody will tell you is not a factor, but it's still on some level a factor. But the massive turnover on your roster every year, you don't have that in the NBA.
Yeah. You
just don't. He'll have Alex Carabin, I think, is the only real rotation player who's going to come back for next year. So you're constantly doing it. And I also think that, and I'm not at that level, but if you're at this level where you're paying guys that you don't think are really worth what you're paying them, it just doesn't feel good. Whereas when you get to the NBA, it's just about basketball. Just about basketball. What else? Give me one other question, then I'll get to.
No,
Jeff.
I guess I guess I'm struggling with this. As a good illustrator, I think there was a good article out about how a lot of bands have been trying to sell out arenas, and they're realizing it's too big for them and going back to smaller venues. Every time I see, and they're always happier with it. And every time I see this kind of jump where it feels kind of forced, with this big name who's big in college going to this pro job that is volatile but has a lot of good prestige to it, it just, more often than not, it just doesn't work out. And I do wonder how many regrets there are, but those regrets won't happen until the future.
Let's welcome in Jeff Goodman. He joins us here on the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. Of course, you can hear Field of 68 wherever you download podcasts. You can see him on Stadium Sports as well. Jeff, what's your reaction to the news?
I was shocked, like everybody. I just saw Dan a couple weeks ago in Indy. I've been texting with him, and nothing. So I was surprised because, again, Shams just put out the report a couple days ago that, and everybody kind of thought it was just J.J. Redick, and that's why nothing had been done. Right? They had to wait for the NBA Finals to finish, for J.J. to finish doing his job, and then they were going to announce J.J. Redick is the next head coach of the Lakers. And this one's a little bit shocking, only because I've always said, Doug, I don't know if Dan Hurley translates to the NBA. And not because of the X's and O's. He's terrific at that. We know that. But more because of the ego involved and the fact that, can NBA guys handle Dan Hurley? Like in the college game, it's all about the players. In the college game, it's all about the coaches. In the NBA game, it's all about the players. I just don't know. Like Brad Stevens worked, right? No ego, low key, all that. He worked for a while in the NBA. I don't know if Dan, and I respect the hell out of Dan. I don't know if he's going to be able to change enough to whereas he's going to be able to coach these guys the way he wants to coach them.
See, my perception of Dan at UConn, especially recently, is yes, he coaches them hard, but he's not a crazy person. You know,
Right.
He's not a crazy person. When
I
he
guess
goes,
the part, Doug, is the part with the fans and the officials. Like that part of it, he's going to have to calm down. Like he can't be doing some of the stuff.
yeah, of course.
To Tony Brothers. Tony Brothers will honestly toss him out of the game in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to have to tone that down. Can he handle a room full of men? Can he? Is Danny over himself enough to where he can make it about them, not about him? That's the biggest question.
Yeah.
I think the answer is yes. But
he's smart, man. He's
I know
a smart dude. And again, you get him off the court. You know this, Doug. Like, is there a better guy to deal with, like off the court in terms of just having fun? Like LeBron will love him. He'll love Dan Hurley off the court because you can screw around with him. You can have fun with him. You can rip on him. He'll rip on your back. All that. I just think, some of that shtick he's got to tone it down. And the other part for the problem is no matter who that is going to get that job, Doug, like I just don't know how you can succeed with a 40-year-old LeBron who you're going to worry about whether he's going to be healthy enough to make it through the year. At some point, his body's probably going to fail him. And Anthony Davis, whose body, I know it's been better the last couple of years, but whose body isn't exactly, it's failed him plenty over the years. And then you got a bunch of just role players. So, but having said all that, if I'm Dan Hurley, I'd take a shot at this thing. I absolutely take a shot.
I would too. It's the Lakers. You've won two titles, yes. and you have basically a whole new team for next year. So it's not like he's leaving these kids out. And Caravan is the one kid who's like, man, that would really suck. I'm guessing though that they probably keep it in that same family of all those guys on the bench.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure of that. I was with you this morning on that. I'm not so sure that they're going to keep it in the family just to keep the players.
Okay. Would Kamani get it, or who would have the best shot? Kamani?
No, I'm just telling you. I don't know. If
I understand. Who of those two do you think would have the better shot?
Kamani would have the better shot for sure. He's the associate. He's been with Dan longer. Kamani Young would be, to me, if you're going to keep it in house. But listen, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying that I'm now thinking they're probably not going to keep it in house. If I had to guess,
who would it be? Who would it be? Who's the first call that would make sense?
So my first call is Bruce Pearl. That's my first call. New England guy, got the personality, got the fight. Now I don't know, how old's Bruce now? What's Bruce? 60?
He's in his 60s.
63. That's the only worry, right? The only worry is, number one, how much does Bruce have left in the tank to do this? If you're David Benedict, the AD, you don't want to have to make another hire in 3 years. You don't really. And I don't know if Bruce has got more than 3 or 5 left to do this. And does Bruce really want to come up to UConn and deal with that? Like, he's got a good thing going at Auburn. He's got his son there. I don't know if he can get Stephen the job at Auburn yet. I'm not sure the deal. He's not written in the contract as the next head coach yet. Maybe he can use it as leverage. Bruce would be one. Sean Miller, 1B for me.
Okay. I don't know if they go the Sean Miller route, but okay. Who else?
I mean, I can't come up with other names. I don't know. Like, there aren't a lot because most of these guys, Nate Oates' buyout is $17 million. Scott Drew's not going from Baylor to Stores. We know that. There's no shot of that one. No. You know, Billy Donovan, last I checked, he's still employed and fine. You're not. Who do you got?
What about Speedy Claxton?
Oh, I mean, it's a jump. Like, you're not winning. Yeah, I mean, I love Speedy, but that's a jump. You're going to go Speedy. You might as well go Shaheen Holloway.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah, like Shaheen would be good. I like Shaheen. Shaheen's done a good job. He'd be solid. Again.
It would be hard to leave your alma mater and go in conference. I don't think it's incredibly hard to leave your alma mater because they're not as well funded. But in conference, that could be
Yeah, harder.
Harder.
But you're going to
my thought is though that Danny, and look, Danny's a bit of a force of nature, but Danny it wasn't like he did well at Rhode Island. He wasn't killing the world at Rhode Island, but it was more, here's a Northeast guy, he's got that edge to him.
Yes.
He's a former player in the Big East, gets it. Like I think Shaheen and Speedy are those two type of guys that they can circle in on. Obviously, it would be completely different than how Danny's done it, but they've both been very successful in their own right.
Totally. I just think those are second tier, third tier guys.
Sure, but you're also
doing
the go after the name thing, right? Bruce is a name. Bruce is
sure.
Right. Whereas,
don't you have to? You're
why
UConn.
did they go after a name when they hired Danny?
They couldn't. They were in the American Athletic Association.
I understand. I get that it's different now, but
it's a top 5 job again. It is now. Dan Hurley has elevated this thing where there probably aren't 5 more sought after jobs in America right now. Now again,
but now do you want to follow a guy who won back-to-back national titles?
I mean, you got to find the right guy, right? Like the right personality has the guy who's been again at Auburn, at Tennessee.
Oh no! Listen, if you can get Bruce, you get Bruce because he gets everybody into it. I just don't know if that's what he wants to do.
Well, you can win a title at UConn. Can you win a title at Auburn? I mean, you got to the Final Four.
Why can't you win a title at Auburn?
I'm asking you. I'm saying it's harder. It's harder to win but could you? Yes. This is always your thing when I ask you, right? Like, can they? Yes, they can. Will they? I don't think so.
Fair. No, it's a fair point. Real quick, let's Celtics, Mavs tonight. Jeff Goodman joining us here on the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. What's your level of faith that Jason Tatum can play to the top level of his game in this series?
11 of 10. Really? 11 of 10. I'm not worried about him at all. At all. Seriously, I'm not worried about Jason Tatum at all. I'm more worried about Jaylen Brown. Although I will say this, it's going to be really interesting to see who Derek Jones is going to be on. Because Derek Jones is an elite defender, right? Elite. So do you throw him on, you start him on Tatum? I assume you start P.J. Washington on Tatum. You start Derek Jones on Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown hasn't seen anybody even that in the postseason this year. So that's going to be the interesting one to me is Jaylen Brown. Does he continue his play from last series? If he does, this is a wrap. There's no way Dallas beats Boston if Jaylen Brown plays the way he did last series. I don't worry about Tatum. The thing with Tatum that everybody needs to get over is the dude just makes the right play so often now. Boston fans are never happy with what he does, right? A couple of years ago, it was, he took bad shots. It didn't pass the ball enough, didn't find his teammates. Now that's all he does, and they yell at him for not being as assertive. So he'll shoot the ball better from 3, but Jason Tatum, I think the Celtics win this in 7, and Tatum wins MVP and shows his all-around game and condescending Kyrie. We'll see what happens.
Oh, you're still bitter about Kyrie. Still bitter. He's playing great. He's playing good.
He is. Hey, Doug, I'm going to give him the credit he deserves. He actually guards now. He does he looked like for years he didn't guard anybody. Nobody.
No. But now he also has Derek Lively and Gafford behind him, so that helps you as well.
Yeah.
Goody. All right. We'll probably touch base with you again if this happens. It becomes a real thing. But right now it's just preliminary stages. Thanks for being our guest.
Sounds good, man.
All right, that's Jeff. By the way, Jeff Goodman not calling me coach. What's the deal, Goodman? Call our boss coach. I'm kidding.